Environmentalists are urging Ottawa to stop trade talks with Brazil after another season of fires in the Amazon rainforest. New data from Brazil's space agency shows that fire damage is worse this year than it was in 2019. France and Germany have both delayed the ratification of Europe's free trade deal with the economic bloc that includes Brazil. Greenpeace Canada says Ottawa needs to pull out of its talks as well, and some believe many of the fires were purposely set and are being allowed to spread to clear the rainforest for development. In the meantime, though, we are joined now by Rekia Fick. She is a nature and food campaigner for Greenpeace Canada, and she joins us from Ottawa. So, Rekia, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Rekia, your organization is urging the Canadian federal government to move away from trade talks with the Brazilian government as a result of the forest fires that are taking place in the Amazon. Build that connection for us. Why is one thing related to the other?
So we know that actually the trade deal itself might actually open up a market for the very goods that are driving these fires, that are driving the Amazon destruction. So the Agribusiness Association in Brazil said that meat exports from Brazil would rise by 1.8 billion. We know that clearing land for cattle farms is the leading driver of the devastating fires that we're seeing again this year in the Amazon.
And what in the past has been the response from the federal government?
So the federal government has stood by its plan to continue with this, with the Canada-Mercosur Free Trade Agreement, and they've spoken about putting in place a strong environmental chapter, but that is simply not even remotely adequate to address what's happening. So the Brazilian President Bolsonaro, since he came into power in January 2019, has been systematically rolling back environmental legislation, slashing funding to the environmental protection agencies, and also seriously undermining Indigenous rights to the point where Indigenous nations in Brazil, in the Amazon, are sounding the alarm that this might actually be an existential crisis for them that threatens their very existence.
Now, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. One is that we have reached out to the federal government in Canada to get a response to your latest call for them to step away from these talks. The other is that the Brazilian government has repeatedly denied allegations and reporting that they are in fact complicit with the fires that are burning in the Amazon. But let's get back to that trade deal between Mercosur bloc, which is that trading bloc that would include Brazil, and their talks with the Canadian government. The Trudeau government says that they have a diversification strategy in place, and we haven't heard back from them about the latest reporting that's coming out, but they say Canada is firmly committed to the principle that trade liberalization and environmental protection should be mutually supportive. We recognize that the health of forests in the region is of great importance to the well-being of the planet, and we are seeking an ambitious, comprehensive, and enforceable environmental chapter within the free trade agreement with Mercosur. So you clearly have a commitment, at least in writing, from the federal government. Is that enough for you?
It's absolutely not enough. I mean, we're in this situation where, the Amazon is actually reaching a tipping point that if the fires, if the deforestation continue as they are now, we're going to see the entire rainforest collapse, killing off biodiversity, releasing huge amounts of carbon, and the entire region convert to a savanna. So it's extremely urgent, and this is a government, the Liberal government claims that they want to act on climate change. They're talking about actually implementing the green and just recovery that Canadians are calling for. It is simply not possible to cooperate with a government that is systematically encouraging the destruction of the Amazon rainforest and contribute to it and continue to claim that we can be a climate leader.
So on the one hand, there's the issue of whether Canada should or should not participate in negotiations with the Brazilian government. So if we put that aside for a moment, beyond that, the fires continue in the Amazon. What is the long-term impact for that? And what benefit would there be for the Brazilian government to try and protect these forests?
I mean, the impact is huge. I mentioned before just how urgent this moment in time is to be protecting the Amazon. So the Brazilian government, so it's land grabbers led by ranchers that are purposely burning the rainforest. These are not natural fires, and the fires have spiked since Bolsonaro's in place, specifically because the land grabbers know that they can get away with it because environmental legislation has been rolled back. But if and we are seeing that actually that there have been small concessions made already, and if we can continue to build this international pressure on the Brazilian government, pressuring business. Threatening to big loss of business, we believe that that could be enough to pressure the Bolsonaro government to step up and in fact enforce environmental protection in the Amazon instead of slashing protections.
Rekia, we're in the middle of this pandemic, which has devastated not only people's health, but it's also devastated the global economy. And right now, there's so much focus on getting the economy back on track. How much of a priority do you think this is really for either government, for any government, including in Europe, where they're in the midst of trade talks with Brazil over the Amazon? Is this a realistic request that you guys are making right now?
Absolutely. I mean, we do need to be looking at how we're rebuilding our economy. And this is exactly the moment that we need to be taking to shift from an economy where we are actually driving ourselves towards the brink. I mean, this is an existential crisis to ourselves, as well as millions of species on the planet, and shift to actually have a green and just recovery, to put in place an economy that is green, that's in line with what our environment, that our planet can sustain. And this is our opportunity. And this is exactly what we need to be doing. Going after a trade deal such as this one that's actually exacerbating the problem that we know will boost industrial agriculture that's driving destruction in the Amazon and beyond is absolutely not the way that we should be going. This government has said that they're committed to a green and just recovery, and we need them now to actually put in place the firm actual economic policies that will support that, and the budget too.
Okay. Rekia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.